Week 4 of the Great British Sewing Bee was Korean week, and I love seeing an expert judge being brought in when it is not the normal judge's field of expertise. Now, I am also not an expert in Korean fashion, so apologies for any errors. I have done as much research as I could. Let's see how I do. I'm doing the pattern challenge mostly because they all seem to be struggling with the timings. Half the group hadn't finished, so it felt like a good one this week to test. Now, they were given quite a lot of information before they began. It had to have a contrast collar and needed to be pressed flat, which gives you some really good insights into the type of fabrics you need. You need something that's going to press well, hold a crease well, all those sorts of things. But it was clear from the instructions that there were a lot of details: hem facings, front facing, multiple ties, collars. The flat insertion of the sleeves would have made it easier, but I will talk you through the timings and how I found it at the end. I get asked about this every single time I whip this tool out in a video. It's called an easy point and turner, and yes, it's as brilliant as it always looks. But let's discuss challenge 2, the transformation challenge. I would have loved to do this if I could have got hold of a taekwondo uniform quickly enough this week. I thought it looked like a lot of fun playing with the rigidity of those ties and the structure that they were all able to produce. And I have to say, I loved watching them all have exactly the same things, both color and, fabric this week, because that is new. And it just looks so interesting when it came to the judging. Now, given the thickness of those fabrics and how thick those ties are, I wasn't surprised to see so many broken needles, but it has made me want to ask the question. So for any contestants who are watching, do you have to change your own needle when they snap, or does a technician suddenly magically appear and do it for you? Now, it was clear after this challenge that Kit was having a strong week, but I would say in the transformation, I thought all top 5 were creatively really strong. And then we move on to these Cholik inspired outfits. 5 hours, so a good amount of time, but lots of details to put in. Now, more self-drafting, and neither of them worked. I mean, to be making a garment that is so out of your comfort zone and then to try and self-draft it is bold, I'm not going to lie. I really enjoyed the interpretations that weren't just replications of what a Cholik looked like from what they showed. So I have to say, Orla's, Stuart's and Kit's were my favourites from that perspective. But I did really understand and appreciate the modernisation and the twist that Kaz had put on it. It made sense to me. My only question is, I thought that the Choliks were very similar to the Jeogori from the pattern challenge, which, given that the third challenge should have been practice, I felt that maybe they should have been less confused by the first challenge, if that makes any sense. But speaking of Jegoris, I have finished. Now, for the only stats anyone is interested in, I spent 15 minutes getting this cut out, and then it took me 2 hours to sew. So I had an hour spare, and that was with me pressing as I was going and doing all of those things. I am not convinced I have tied this correctly, and it doesn't fit my body how I'd want it to. I think I am too busty for this style, but it did make for an interesting sew.